So, welcome listeners and viewers to the Partnership Publishing Podcast. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to our debut author under Magic Mouse Books, Keith Clifton. Welcome.
Thank you. It sounds very grand to be introduced as an author. It sounds as though you're being introduced as a nuclear scientist or an orthopedic surgeon or something, you know.
Well, absolutely. The title of
people
author.
step back in awe and wonder. Oh, you're an author, you know. So it's very odd. It's a very odd feeling.
Well, this is your new title amongst everything else that you could maybe title yourself as, dance extraordinaire, etc., etc. But you are bringing your comedic flair, the reason we're having this conversation, and passion for dancing combined, for your highly anticipated new release of your children's book, The Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories, which I have here today. So for those of you that can see,
I've got one left. I've got one left here.
Well, they have been, like I say, it's highly anticipated. They have been kind of going off the shelves in Waterstones. They have been pre-ordered, purchased. We can't get them out quick enough for the demand. So credit to you. And also the wonderful illustrations produced, and the book cover produced by Happy Designer, Sarah Lee Wills of Happy Designer. So we're incredibly pleased with your debut title.
I've had so many comments about the front page. So many really nice comments about the front page and how it looks and how it says exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
And it highlights, you know, the different characters and the age group which would like the book. It's really very pleasant.
Absolutely. Oh, well, that's great feedback. Even at initial days, I mean, we're literally within the first week to 2 weeks of publication as we're having this conversation. And I feel for those listeners or viewers, you know, for the people that are watching us, you know, you're getting to see the book in its colourful glory. For listeners that can't see us, to try and give you a bit of an insight into The Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. The book is a collection of short stories written by Keith. They've been illustrated by Sarah Lee Wills of Happy Designer, and Sarah has done her absolute best to bring these characters that are incredibly from Keith's head and imagination. She has brought them to life. And the book cover is a montage to that, to the internals. There's illustrations throughout in black and white, as you can see. And being able, it's quite difficult to convey this through the screen, but the actual internals, it's fully illustrated throughout, and is just an incredibly fun and enjoyable read. I'd like to start by just kind of asking you, I've got a few questions, but let's start with where the inspiration came from. Where did the idea kind of come from? Have you always written or not?
No, I mean, at school, like everybody else, I did my essays, but the instigation for the stories was basically from our daughter, Joanne, who some of you will know. She won Strictly Come Dancing with Aurea Duba about 5 years ago. And during lockdown, she was not able to be in the theatre. She was going around with the Addams Family tour. And like Kevin, both of them, their work stopped. And so there was an opportunity for her to work with one of the arts groups in Grimsby, and they asked her to do some dance teaching for younger children on a weekly basis. which he was very happy to do. The only problem was doing 3/4 of an hour for younger kids was probably a touch too long. Our own dance classes for that age group are only 30 minutes. So she asked me if I would write a few little stories just to give them a break in between their dancing. So they would dance, and then they would sit down, have a drink, listen to a story, and then get up again and dance at the end. And of course, as everybody knows, when your daughter asks you to do something, you just drop everything and do it. You know, it's just the way it has been for us. With both
so we have Joanne actually is responsible for encouraging you to start writing.
Yes.
Wow.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
So she asked me to write the stories, and I just locked myself away in the office and opened this bold pate up and tried to find what was left of my brain, and that's how the stories came about. And it just went rampant, really, because I've spent 40 years teaching children to dance, and latterly more adults. And so I was entertaining children all that time. And I tend to understand a little bit of how they think and how I've got to be with them, what sort of things make them laugh. And I just tapped into that vein of knowledge that was there, saying, now what sort of things are going to make these kids laugh? They need a good laugh. COVID isn't making anybody laugh, so let's help the kids. So it all became very random, very bizarre. I wrapped my initial thoughts around my love of comedians, of comedians who tell stories, like Les Dawson, Billy Connolly, Mike Harding, Ronnie Corbett, you know, people who story tell jokes. And I put the two together, and that this is what's come out of it. You know, a very random, bizarre, absurd set of ridiculous stories. And the rule that I put onto it was, if it makes me laugh, then hopefully it will make other people laugh.
Yeah.
Because I've listened to a lot of comedy, and I've been around a lot of children for a long time. So if it makes me laugh, then I'm going to go through it. That's the story for me. That's the story. So I'm sitting in my office just giggling, and Judy comes in, and what are you giggling about?
Yeah.
Well, I've just thought of an idea about this guy, this young kid who does this, or this chicken, or this whatever, you know. And she said, you know, sort of, she closes the door with comments like, "You're nuts," you know. Oh,
the best people are.
I'm just trying to get that nutty thought process out into word format. Obviously, some stories didn't go anywhere, and some stories fixed, but that's what came out of it. That's where it all started. It was Joanne's fault, but to her credit,
in the best possible way.
It's the best possible outcome.
Absolutely. That's incredible there. And I think you kind of really touched on that moment there of entertaining children, you know, like that is your background, that's been your life work through, yes, a different medium, but you've been telling stories, I guess, in a different way through dance. You know, it's through understanding children and all of those life skills that you've literally picked up along the way, as well as obviously having your own children. So again, you mentioned there briefly Joanne and your other son, your only son, Kevin, which, you know, like I say, you briefly mentioned there, but people will know yourselves locally as a family are well known for your dancing and everything, your life achievements really in dancing and bringing the community together through dance with the Cliftons Dance Academy. And then naturally, obviously, your son and daughter kind of having the amazing success with dancing professionally themselves. So I think it's in you, isn't it, to naturally entertain?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, as I said, I'm using my experience with children to good effect. But the knock-on, not the knock-on effects, but the part that I talk about with storytelling happens with our kids, with Joanne and Kevin. When they were on Strictly, they obviously gave a lot of interviews, and they were saying that the secret really is telling stories through dance on television to 12 million people every week. In so much as you can teach people to dance, but you can't teach people to perform a narrative within the dance.
Yeah,
you know,
it has to come through
easily.
you, doesn't it?
It doesn't come easily to tell the narrative, and unless there's a narrative within dance, then people won't read it or understand it as much as just performing a technically competent dance.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
which
totally
tends to
different.
be okay because the judges said it was okay or good, but it tends to be forgotten. So that the ones that are remembered fondly by people in the country, and not just Kevin and Joanne, obviously the others too, are the dances that have a very specific story, narrative, or costume, you know, that people can relate to, and that they can talk about to others afterwards. There's something to actually hang their hat on. You know, do you remember this one where Dan and before him Scott Mills with Joanne did the octopus? Do you remember Anne Widdecombe flying about? Do you remember? You know, there's got to be something there that people can actually relate to, because if you just put dancing out there, it isn't quite relatable.
No.
It's why people don't go every Sunday to see a dance competition, because they don't really understand it.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing new.
If you put it out there and you've got two dancers dancing around as you know, giraffes, you know, people will remember that. You know, remember the narrative. So it's just the same. It's the same thing for them as it is for me writing a book and not doing the dancing, but making sure that the narrative is memorable.
Yeah, and the stories are so unique. Yeah, 100%.
You know, so that somebody reads the book and says, "Oh, I really enjoyed that. I especially like the one about and the one about the," because it's memorable.
Yeah, 100%.
I think understood it.
Yeah, just before we started this conversation for the recording, it's just been World Book Day as well. And you just happened to mention, so you're able to visit quite a few different schools recently, and for World Book Day you were informed that someone had dressed up as one of your characters. I mean, that alone, I mean, we saw creative art, you know, plates being made, you know, painted with your book cover design, with the scarecrow. I mean, that level of instant reaction is exactly what you're talking about there. You're wanting to create that hook, that memorable association with either the characters or a story that's so entertaining, it's hilarious, that you will remember forever. I mean, these are now, you're talking about that being part of the book and the characters being a part of that child's journey and memory forever, as a lifetime. It will constantly come up in family conversation. Oh, do you remember when for World Book Day I dressed up as? And I think in this instant it was Benji One Eye. The kid himself actually forgot the patch, but you know, you've got that.
It was quite ridiculous. I'm Benji One Eye, you know, dressed as a dog. So that's great. That's fantastic that you picked up on a character
Yeah.
But you've got two eyes that are open. Yeah, but I forgot to put the patch on the one eye. I mean, that's a funny story.
It's a funny story. The stories are creating funny stories and funny situations to happen, which is, I mean, I guess every author's dream, you know, especially for this particular genre. So no, it's brilliant as it's been picked up even up now. I'll just read the blurb again for those that already haven't purchased a copy of the Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. This just might give them a little bit of an insight into the variety that we're talking about today. So I have here the Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. This short story collection might have you rolling on the floor laughing. Hey, it might even get you up dancing. There is a story for everyone to enjoy. You will meet characters from the sea and land, parents who are scared of spiders, a chicken that flew, and a tortoise with hair. Each story is a little reminder that if you believe it, you can achieve it. And with some kindness, harmony, and humour along the way, the best friendships are always made. You've also got some incredible feedback and reviews from some wonderful people that you know and that love your work, both professionally in your dancing capacity and also obviously now with your writing. So you actually do have Aurea Duba, who's kind of don't know if that's come up on screen. It's saying that we've got 10 minutes left. Can you just talk a moment and I can, are you?
Yeah, Aurea.
The hearing's still working.
Joanne happened to mention it to Aurea, and Aurea said, I've got to have it. And he took the book and he was blown away by it. So, you know, very happy with an endorsement from
absolutely. Endorsed work is incredible, and to have that feedback of I think he says warm, imaginative, and very funny. Forget the kid, this book is right up my street. And I think we've had that response.
He's a big kid. He's a big kid like myself, and I'm trying to write the book. Yeah,
I guess we all are, and I think parents will love it as much as obviously children. That's the feedback that we're getting.
Absolutely happy to go out. Absolutely happy to go out to schools. I mean, I enjoy it. You know, my life has been geared to talking to people through dance classes, and before that through demonstrations and shows. When Judy and I were going out demonstrating our dancing capabilities. And the funny thing was, when we went out and did our shows, we did 5 dances, and in between the dances, you try and get your breath back. Right? So I started telling stories in between, you know, just jokes and stories and things, and that got us much more work than the actual dancing itself, you know, because in the end we were just there as entertainers as much as showing the dancing. You know, the dancing was on autopilot, but we entertained the people as well, you know, and so storytelling was always there in the background. Although I didn't know where it was going to go.
No, I guess you never planned for this, and you've mentioned that there's a little bit of an underpinning of morals and stories to your writing, to try and inspire and encourage children that might be going either through not just a difficult time, but might be struggling with confidence. That's one of the big ones that we actually take from the Dancing Scarecrow story specifically, and many other topics kind of covered there. So there is meaning and depth to the work that you're writing, and I think as publishers that's what we also connected with. It was the personability, it was your enthusiasm and passion for your writing, but then on getting to know you even more, it was like we could see that underpinning there, and that's what we fell in love with as well. It was that you know, the best way to be able to encourage and support children is through entertainment. So we have the entertaining value through the humour and the fun of the stories that are naturally there with you and how you present these. But yeah, we also have that other level as well.
Yeah, I think you start with you have to hook them in somehow, and you can't just walk into a crowd of kids and say, right, you must make friends with everybody, or you must put a smile on your face every day, or you know, you must never batter anybody around the head, you know, because it's just sort of noise around. So through the dance classes as well, I can remember doing it. You know, you get to them through being silly, stupid, and grab their attention. And then at the end of it, you'll say something which is almost like a moral line, you know, a tagline.
Yeah.
You know, at the end, don't you ever do this, because that won't be very good at all, will it? You know,
because they're listening, and
you've come at it from a roundabout way through entertainment and storytelling, and obviously some of the dances that we chose to do through dance were stories anyway, you know, which was very useful.
Yeah.
So
I think that's amazing, and that definitely comes through in your debut children's book, The Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. I think what's amazing to mention is that you're incredibly passionate about wanting to actually be with the children as well when book kind of events, storytelling, signings. You're kind of available for all of this, and kind of very proactive with doing different events.
I'm very comfortable with a big crowd of kids.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that's great, because we know that Waterstones are very interested in having you back, continuing with different events throughout the year, potentially. I think they're very excited to monopolize on the already good success that they're having and they're seeing with the orders in stores. That will mirror obviously in schools and different community groups, obviously with the dancing as well. I'm
available during the day as well. That's helpful, because, you know, obviously being a dance teacher, you're going out in the evening, so I'm available during the day to go and see the schools. We're actually going to a school. They've named one of the schools in Grimsby. They've named one of their houses as the Clifton House, which is very humbling. Very humbling, you know, and I think it's Wivers Wood, and we're going to go out there and I'll do a reading out there. That's amazing, you know,
isn't it? I mean, and it's obviously credit for the work that you do in the local community and wider spread, naturally, with all of your incredible work, basically with your live work, is what it is, isn't it? And now your book can be an extension and part of that. It can enhance everything that you're doing, and I think a lot of children are very excited to see you nationally throughout obviously a bit of a book tour that you'll be starting and creating, different literacy festivals. So we're as publishers, we're also keeping our eyes and ears open for any opportunities, naturally, as we do with all of our authors and all of our book titles. So we're excited for the future of The Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. I think if people wanted to follow you, where would you say, or direct them to the best place to get you? Would it be on Facebook or Instagram? I think you've got direct.
We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook. Just Google us. You know, they'll find us one way or another. Yeah.
The book's available, obviously.
We're very out there. We're very out there.
Yeah, no, you absolutely are very proactive. I think as well, just before we kind of close today, if you had any other advice or inspiration to give another writer that may be listening or watching to this, or a child, what kind of would you say to prepare them for this publishing journey?
Well, the actual writing of it is just a question of sitting down and doing it. You don't. I never thought for a moment that I would sit down and write the perfect story. And if you think you're going to write the perfect story, forget it. You just start writing and see what comes of it. You can always change it afterwards, thankfully, you know, because of the wonders of the computer science. But just start writing and just enjoy what you're doing and seeing where it goes. If you have the passion for a particular subject or somebody that you want to write for, you just have to run with it and see where it goes, because that makes it personal. You know, you can read so much about it and how to write a book and how to do this sort of thing. But it's normally how that person would write a book, you know, rather than me as an individual. How would I want to see it? If I wanted to pick a book off a bookshelf, and what do I want to see? What do I want to read? You know, what sort of
great advice. Yeah, absolutely.
So it has to be absolutely personal to you, you know. And then once you've got something, it's at that point that you turn to yourself, like the professionals, the partnership publishing, and say, look, this is what I've got. You know, is it a runner, or is it nonsense? Or,
absolutely.
You know,
I think that's great.
And you get
advice.
feedback from the people that understand it, but you have to put into writing what you want to put into writing, whether it's a short 10-minute children's story, or whether it's your life. And trust me, that people's lives are that interesting. They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got a story. Everybody. You go to the pub, you talk to your friends. What do? You tell stories.
You've got a story.
To each other.
You do. I think that's incredible. Incredible advice. Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Just put them down. Just put them down. See where it goes.
Yeah.
Get a file.
Thanks ever so much for that, Keith. I think 100% agree. Everybody has a story in them, and ultimately that's our passion as well. Partnership publishing, to try and give people a voice, an opportunity to share their stories with the world, really. And ultimately, what better way to share it through children's books, and especially the Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories. So we encourage everybody who's maybe listening and watching this, that they've resonated with what Keith's saying. They've maybe thought, this sounds like a hilarious book to purchase for my family, for my friends, or for my child, or school or library. Please do get in touch, either via ourselves as Publishers Direct, or just Google Keith Clifton Dance Academy, the Clifton, Keith, Kevin, Joanne, Judy. You'll find them, and please share in Keith with celebrating the Dancing Scarecrow and Other Stories, available now. Thank you for your time today, Keith.
It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy being on this initial journey into the wonderful world of authorship and publishing. So thank you.
No, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm sure we will check in with you again maybe 6 months into the journey and see how you're feeling then as well, and where the book is. So no, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, and take care.
Pleasure.